You use it every single day. You work for it, you save it, you spend it. But have you ever really stopped to ask yourself, what is money, actually? Welcome to the Chronicler's Desk. We're here to dig through the past to make sense of the present, and today, the answer to that question is going to be way more wild than you think.
See, we think of money as a thing, right? A coin, a dollar bill, maybe some numbers on an app. But what if I told you money isn't a thing at all? What if it's one of humanity's oldest, most brilliant inventions, a piece of social technology we engineered to solve a massive, fundamental problem?
To get that, we have to rewind the clock. We have to go back to a time before money even existed, a time when trade was simple, direct, and totally, deeply broken.
Just imagine it for a second, a world with no cash, no credit cards, no crypto. For almost all of human history, that was just reality.
If you wanted something, you had to swap for it. Sounds easy enough, but this whole system has a huge, fatal flaw baked right into it. Picture this. You're a farmer, you've got tons of wheat, and you really need a new hammer. So you go to the blacksmith. He's got a great hammer, but he doesn't want your wheat. He wants a new pair of shoes. So, no trade. Nothing happens. This is called the double coincidence of wants, and it's a total roadblock. You have to find someone who has exactly what you want and wants exactly what you have. Good luck with that.
And that just highlights how inefficient this was. You're wasting so much time just trying to find a match. And how do you even price anything? Like, how many chickens is one hammer worth? And forget about saving for the future. Your wealth is literally grain and livestock that can spoil or die. Humanity desperately needed an upgrade.
And so we got our first big upgrade, commodity money. The idea was brilliant in its simplicity. Instead of trying to trade anything for anything, whole societies started to agree on using specific items that everyone agreed had value.
And these weren't just random objects. They had real intrinsic value. In ancient Sumer, the shekel wasn't a coin. It was a specific weight of barley. You could either trade it or you could, eat it. Cowrie shells were used all over Africa and Asia because they were tough, portable, and pretty hard to counterfeit.
But my favorite example is salt. For Roman soldiers, this wasn't just for making their food taste better. Salt was a life or death technology. It was how you preserved food in a world without refrigerators. It was universally valuable.
And that ration of salt, the salarium, is the direct root of our modern word salary. That's right. The very concept of earning a wage comes from getting paid in a bag of salt. How cool is that?
So, problem solved, right? Well, not exactly. This new technology was a huge leap forward, but it created a whole new headache: verification. Now, every time you wanted to make a trade, you had to weigh the grain, check the salt for impurities. It just slowed everything right back down.
And this new problem leads us to the next massive jump in monetary tech. It was a solution that completely changed the foundation of what it means to trust something.
The Lydians over in modern-day Turkey had an absolutely genius idea. They took these little lumps of electrum, a mix of gold and silver, and they stamped them. That stamp was a promise, a guarantee from the king himself that this coin had a specific weight and a specific purity. All of a sudden, you didn't need to carry scales around. You didn't have to bite the metal. You just had to trust the stamp. This was a revolution because the source of trust shifted from the stuff itself, the salt, the grain, to the authority that issued it. And that idea, trusting an authority, is the key that unlocks everything that comes next. And speaking of trust, if you trust us to keep guiding you through these epic shifts in history, do us a favor and hit that subscribe button to join our community here at the Chronicler's Desk.
Okay, so this new reliance on a central authority set the stage for the next great abstraction, the moment money went from being a physical thing to just being a promise on a piece of paper.
At first, paper money was really just a claim check. It was an IOU from a bank for a certain amount of gold. But over centuries, that link to physical metal got weaker and weaker. After World War II, the whole world pegged their currencies to the US dollar, which was still backed by gold. But then, in 1971, President Nixon went on TV and severed that final link for good. The gold window was slammed shut.
And that gets us to the system we all live in today. The money in your bank account has no intrinsic value. It's not backed by anything physical. It's valuable for one reason and one reason only, because the government says it is, and more importantly, because we all agree to believe in that story. It's a technology built entirely on collective trust. And that, right there, is the crucial weak point of our entire modern financial system. What happens when that shared story we all tell ourselves about the value of money simply stops being believable?
You get hyperinflation. That's what happens. It's the moment a society, as a whole, just stops believing in its own currency. Trust completely evaporates, and the money basically becomes worthless paper overnight. It's the ultimate crash of a social technology.
This inherent fragility is what brings us to the latest and by far the most radical chapter in the long history of money. A new technology designed specifically to solve the problem of having to trust fallible human institutions.
This is a truly fundamental change in thinking. For thousands of years, the evolution of money has been about finding a better human authority to trust. A king, a government, a central bank. Cryptocurrency asks a wild question. What if we don't have to trust humans at all? What if we could build a system where our trust is placed in transparent, verifiable, unchangeable mathematical code instead?
This new tech could completely redefine money itself. See, for centuries, a currency like the dollar has had to do 3 jobs all at once: store value, be a medium of exchange, and act as a unit of account. In a digital future, those jobs could be unbundled. You might use something like Bitcoin as a long-term store of value, like digital gold. For buying coffee, you might use a stablecoin, and you'd still use dollars or euros to price everything.
When you zoom out and look at this entire story, from salt to code, you realize something profound. Money was never a finished product. It's a continuous 6,000-year-old research and development project. Every new version is just humanity's latest attempt to build a more perfect, more efficient, and more trustworthy way for us to connect and exchange value with each other.
And that leaves us right here, right now, with the defining economic question of our time. The next evolution of this ancient social technology is happening as we speak, so the choice is becoming clearer. Do we place our trust in the human institutions we've known for centuries, with all their strengths and flaws? Or do we take a leap of faith and place our trust in mathematical code? The only thing we know for sure is that the story of money is far from over.